Welcome back to Dubbzi Bricks for another Tantive IV update, and we're going to be starting off this update by working on the engine section. I'll need to get some support pillars put in here, and then I can get the next level all ready for the engines to go on top. Now, there have been a couple of comments recently about the techniques I'm using, the structural side of things, the strength, the weight, the usage of bricks, all sorts of things like that. So I thought I'd just quickly go over those. One comment is, why don't I use Duplo in here? It's a lot lighter, and obviously you don't need as many of them. A couple of reasons: I don't own any Duplo bricks, and I don't intend on buying any Duplo bricks. And the reason for that, I prefer to use the 2x2 Lego bricks for support pillars when I'm doing sort of structures, for example. I just feel like you've got a lot more flexibility. If I need to insert a plate anywhere, it's a lot easier to do than with Duplo. So yeah, because I don't own any, and I've got another method that I like to use, I don't see the point in changing it, to be honest. Yeah, that's the reason. In regards to the Technic structure, I am trying to get more Technic into the build rather than brick build, just to give it the extra strength. And somebody did also comment about the structural side. Is it going to hold up? This has been standing still. I haven't touched this for about a week and nothing has moved. It is absolutely rock solid at the moment. And I had the engine sticking out the whole time. So I'm really confident that at the moment that this particular section is absolutely fine. Now, obviously, we've got a lot more weight that's going to go on the top of it, so that could change. But at the moment, it feels really sturdy and I'm really happy with how it's all coming together. Transporting it was another thing. I got asked, how am I going to be transporting this to places? Well, these are all going to be in different sections. So this is going to be a standalone section. We have that part over there, which is standalone. And there's going to be about 4, maybe 5 of those. The more I have, then the easier it's going to be to move. This is very, very heavy at the moment. And what I will do when it comes to moving it and transporting it, I will make a wooden crate for it to go into. And then that way it'll be a lot easier, it'll be a lot safer. I don't have to worry about it rolling around, falling over or whatever else. So yeah, that's how it's going to be transported. But it is very, very heavy. So I'm going to need some strong friends to help me move it about. So without further ado, let's get the bricks and plates out and let's get started. And that's the centre structure all finished now. All I need to do is put 1 row of plates all the way around the top, and then we're ready to put this section back onto the build. Now, believe it or not, there are a lot less bricks in here now than the previous version. And also, it feels considerably stronger due to the amount of lift arms we've got compressing everything together. Yes, it does weigh a lot, but at least I know that this is strong enough. It's taking the weight. I've got no doubts about the structural side of this. It feels absolutely fine. And even these side parts here, they are so strong now. This doesn't move at all at the back or the front, and the gap has stayed consistent with what it should be. So yeah, it has all pulled itself together nicely, so really pleased with that. So anyway, let's get the white plates out, do the row on there, and then we can start bringing this part onto the top. And there we have the Technic frame all attached to the top, clipped in place in numerous places using the Technic lift arms. And I could almost pick this entire mock-up by this frame here. It's that strong. And I've even made a start on the first of the top engines here. So again, using the same technique as before, where we're using as fewer bricks as possible just to help keep the weight down on there. And again, we're using the lift arms to help keep everything nice and firm. Now, I have come across some more images of the Tantive, and I wish I'd come across these at the very beginning. They are really good. They give me some more close-ups of this, the actual angles and everything the things need to be. And I'm going to turn my attentions away from this section just for a little while, just so I can check I'm getting everything exactly how it needs to be. I don't want to go too much further, just in case there's a slight tweak that I may possibly need to make, and it's all to do with this front section just here, the box that goes on the front that's between this and the next part of the ship. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to turn my attention to the actual engines at the back. We've got the removable sections, and I just want to work out how I'm going to go about putting the skin on the engines. And now the fun and games truly begin. It's one part that I've been looking forward to, but also dreading, and that's the engines at the back of the craft, the cylinders that go in on the very back. This is the template that I've come up with so far, using the hinge pieces which clip into place. So it's fixed in that position. The problem I've got is the gap between two plates there. It's a very weird measurement. So it's something I'm struggling to fill the gap with. So I'm going to carry on playing around with this. It might be bringing out by a plate. But what I don't want it to look like is you've got straight edge, straight edge, straight edge going around. I want to make it look as curved as possible. Now, I have recently built a boat for my Gotham City mock, and I used a slightly different technique there, also using different pieces. And that came out quite well. And I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to use a combination of this and the boat technique to come up with something that's nice and smooth. So without further ado, let's start experimenting and see what we can come up with. And I know I said I was dreading doing this part, but in all honesty, this is the part of Lego that I love. It's solving the problems, trying to work out a solution for something that looks a little bit complex. And these engines are certainly that. Now, this is our original design that we came up with, our prototype. And I decided to put some 1x4 tiles on these 3x3 plates just to see what it would look like as a skin. And here we have it. And it doesn't look too bad. The biggest problem is that you've got a slight gap in there, which would be very difficult to fill due to where the hinges are. But the biggest problem is the way that this steps down. And I don't like that. It just looks too untidy. And I don't think it would look smooth once you've got the entire engine done. So I decided to go back to the drawing board. After building the boat from Gotham City a little while ago, I decided to use the same technique on here. And it is looking a little bit better. Using the curved slopes does give it a more rounded feel, and I do like how this has come out. And I'm using a different hinge piece. I'm using this one just here as opposed to the one on the original build, which was the ones that fix in place. So these are the clip ones just there. However, when I was looking at this here, I was thinking this angle here does look very similar to what we've got on that original one. So I decided to use those hinges, and sure enough, it did work absolutely fine. And here we have it. So I can get away with it, and all I would need to do is purchase these curved slopes. When I looked at this though, I did think it was a little bit too small. This here is pretty much the same size as that one over there, and I was expecting to be building that out by a couple of plates on all of the edges basically. So I decided to just experiment a little bit further, and we came up with this one. I've just inserted a 1x plate, and it just gives it a little bit more of a rounded feel to me. It does mean there's a little bit more work involved, as you've got to use a lot more jumper plates. This is a 3x on the bottom here on the top and on the sides there. So it does require a few extra pieces, but I do think it looks a lot better. Now, the one problem that I've got with this design here and the previous two are the curved slopes there. Now these are the 1x4 curved slopes, however you can get a 2x4. Now my engines are going to be 42 studs in length, so I would need 21 of the 2x just to do one length of it. And you've got 16 of those around the circumference of the engine. So we'd be talking 336 curved slopes per engine. Now, bearing in mind, we've got 11 engines on the Tantive. That means we need a whopping 3,696 of the 2x4 curved slopes to cover those 11 engines. Now, on Lego.com, they are 25 cents each. So we'd be talking a whopping 924 euros. That's how much I'd have to drop just to put these curved slopes on the 11 engines, and that's just something I can't justify doing. It's just well outside of my budget, and yeah, it's just not going to happen. Now, I did look on Bricklink, and there are no sellers on there that have the quantities that I need, and even the people that do have a high-ish quantity, and I'm talking 500-600, they're pretty much the same price, if not more expensive than Lego.com. Plus on Bricklink, I've got to pay the postage costs, I've got import taxes, I've got to place multiple orders, and yeah, it just isn't an option. So if I do go for the curved slopes, which at this moment in time I'm not, it would be from Lego.com. Now, the good thing with these engines are they are removable engines. So if I did decide further down the line, or find a way that I can get these at a cheaper option further down the line, I could quite easily swap it over, and it's not a massive rebuild on the Tantive IV. So it's back to the drawing board, and we're back to using the tiles, and we've come up with this one just here. So we're back to using this hinge piece here on this particular prototype, And rather than have 3x plates all the way around, I've gone for a 3x, then a 2, 3, 2, all the way. And this has helped close the gap up a little bit, and the drop down between plates is not as bad. See, it drops down a little bit there, comes up, but all in all, when you look at it from a distance, I think it looks pretty good. Now, again, problem with this is I would need to buy several hundred of those, so I decided to try the same design using this hinge piece just here, and sure enough, it does work. So I can get away with using the pieces that I currently own, and I would just need to buy the tiles, and they are readily available on the Pick a Brick wall at this moment in time. They used to have 2x4s. At the moment it's only 1x4, but you know, it's at least they are there. I could probably get away with just purchasing 5 or 6 boxes off of the Pick a Brick wall to cover the 11 engines. So you're talking 120-ish euro to do so. So I do think that is a potential option on there. Now the downside with this particular design is that where my things are at the moment, you've got 2 of these which are pretty much opposite each other. However, it's an odd number around here. So this part here is the center at the bottom, so I wouldn't be able to attach it, and the same at the top. So I might need to tweak the design of this very, very slightly if I can. But what I think I'm going to do first of all, I'm going to make up one engine using this technique just to see how it looks. To find out whether or not I actually like this design, or whether or not I've got to go back to the drawing board and try and find some other solution. But yeah, it certainly is a challenge trying to come up with just a circular engine for the Tantive. And the experimenting continues with the engine section just here. I did end up shrinking the size of the circle so that it was an even number, so I could attach it on 4 points on there. It is the same technique of using a 3 wide plate then a 2 wide. It's just squashed it up a little bit. Now on here, I've put rows of 2x8 plates, and it's 3 plates thick to give it extra strength. So when I'm pushing down, it doesn't break. On the next row across, we've got the jumper plates, and then I'm putting a 6x4 plate on with some 2x8s behind it just to give it some strength, and then the tiles over the top. So I'm now going to tile the entire section over, get the other panels on there, and then I'll check back in and show you how it's come out. And here we have the first attempt at putting a skin on the engines, and relatively happy with it. Happy enough? Probably not. So you know what that means. We will be continuing to experiment. And that's the one thing I love about mock building, is all of the trial and error and trying to find a solution to the build till you're happy with it. Now, I think the problem with it for me is there's too many straight lines on there. I'd sooner have the curved edge, which you would get with the curved slopes. The other thing's about, I'm not sure if it's all of the lines going down here where I'm using the 1x1 tiles. If I was using 2x4, obviously there'd be less lines and it may look a little bit better. But yeah, not sure. We'll just have to carry on experimenting. I have got a fair few of the 2x4 tiles somewhere, so I might dig those out and see how much difference that makes to it. Now with this engine, it did want to sag down on this end here. However, as soon as I connected it at the top here with a tile, it pulled the engine up, and it's absolutely fine like that now. Now if you look at this image on screen at the moment, you can see this section on the side of the engine that's nice and flat, and I thought that was detached from the engine, but looking at this image, it looks like it is actually attached to it. So I can actually build that into the engine, and that's going to mean that I'm going to be saving probably about a quarter of the curved slopes that I would originally need. So again, this is something I'm just going to experiment with and try and calculate, work out whether or not I can get the curved slopes on there. If I can reduce the quantity down significantly, then it's something I would look at doing. Also, with the engines where you can't actually see that much of it, will I be able to get away from putting so many curved slopes on there? Would I just be able to put flat tiles on? Is it going to show that much? So these are sort of things I need to be working out. But it's nice to have got this one engine all in place here, just to give me an idea of where I'm going with the build. Even if it hasn't been successful or as successful as I was hoping, it is still a positive step forward. Now over the next month I've got a lot of work on, so unfortunately I won't be getting a mid-month update done on the Tantive. There will just be another Tantive update on the 1st of next month, unfortunately. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the update. If you have, please remember to give us a big thumbs up. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content on the channel. And if you know anybody else you think would be interested in building the Tantive in Lego, if you could share the channel with them, it'd be much appreciated. Anyway, thanks for coming by, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.